Welcome to Symmetrics. Um, in this training video, we are going to actually look at wage analytics, specifically analytics that are related to the wage metric. We will not be able to go through every dashboard on the portal, but we'll be able to go through these three that we'll focus on, and this should pretty much give the flavor or an understanding of what you're looking for in terms of wage metric across various dashboards. All right, with that said, let's get into the details. So, before we go into the details, a quick overview of Symmetrics. It's a unique HR tech and analytics platform unifying job seekers, recruiters, and employers. And that's the URL. The problem that the platform is trying to solve is bring a harmony between three roles in the HR tech industry, which is candidates, recruiters and staffers, and employers. The current experience for candidates in terms of job changing journey is very inefficient. Their new job wage of what to expect is confusing. Their negotiations are generally a hit or a miss, and there is a job remorse that majority of the candidates or job seekers have. Um, from a recruiters and staffers perspective, making a fair deal is one of their goals of their existence. However, it's extremely difficult to call it fair between candidate and employer because of asymmetry of information. And without fair match, there is no long-term loyalty. So they want to build long-term loyalty. And for employers, they always need talented employees, talent, both existing and new incoming, to scale their operations, to scale their projects, and so on and so forth. So Symmetric is trying to bring harmony between these three roles. So our vision is to become a benchmarking platform, which we already are. Um, we want to provide talent access and mobility of talent with fairness as each of those journeys happen. And we integrate with a lot of course providers, assessment platforms, and job boards in terms of powering their platforms. Finally, you can do various things on the platform, account registrations. You have use cases. In fact, this is one of the training video. You have success stories, how people have been using it and making, in at the least 10K uh, rise in their salaries. And in fact, there have been folks who have used the platform to make upwards of 100K extra salary per annum. And so all of those are captured on the website for all inquiries. If you're a candidate, job seeker, or you want to partner with us, careers, or anything else, please write to this email. Now, with that said, let's jump into the agenda. Is going to be, we'll walk through to each of these three dashboards in the portal. City wage KPIs, wage goals, job title, which is under the category goal, and the previous one is under the category information, and moving employer, same job title, wage, what if category. Now, overall, the reports are organized in a specific format in terms of understanding. If you want to navigate, you have categories: informational, what if, goal based, industry, job family, miscellaneous, and under those subcategories of employer, job title, and so on and so forth. This map will help you guide in terms of what you're looking for at a very high level. All right, so let's jump into city wage KPIs. All right. Now, when you log into the platform with a free account, you would either end up in this kind of dashboard where you have previews of all of those dashboards, or if you would prefer rather a list, you could switch to the list view. Now, in this case, what we are looking for is, let's go back, city wage KPIs. So let's go to city wage KPIs. As soon as you click the dashboard, go ahead and click wage KPIs. On the left, you'll find filters that default filters that are applied. So in this case, for the year 2022, the state of California, in the city mountain view, now you're looking at the wage KPIs. Now, wage KPIs, the wage metric itself should be taken into perspective with other things. For example, you need to be looking at the number of job titles and then look at the wage, and not just, if you had just two data points, then there's no point in looking at the wage, right? So we have added insights like number of job titles. In this case, it is around 4K. 579 employers, hired in Mountain View City in the year 2022. Different employers. The top employers, and why they are top is in terms of their average pay. For example, if you see here, Steel Perlo Management paid an upper wage of 600K, um, and the same information is presented in table because you can't present all of the employers in a bar graph. So we give you the entire data, 579 records here, and you could further search on this in detail. Let's say, for if you want to search for Google, there you go. Google paid someone 172K upper wage, right? um, and so what you're looking at this is now a quick overview of wage metrics. Since this training video focuses on wage, we have in this table three wage criteria. It's called average wage lower, average wage upper, and average prevailing wage. um, Average wage lower is the lower wage that this employer paid in the year 2022 um, for the state of California in the city of Mountain View. Okay, so the average wage upper shows, now in this case, if you see Steel Perlo Management LLC, you can see that the average wage lower and average wage upper are the same. What this means is that when the employer reported the salary, they reported it as a point data, right? Not as a range. So they reported it as 600K. So both the lower and upper would be the same value. And the prevailing wage, which is the government minimum wage that you have to pay for the position that this company has hired for, is 261K. So anytime you're looking at this, the interpretation should be you should never get paid less than the average prevailing wage in any scenario, and in between average wage lower to average wage upper is something your salary should be. If you're getting paid lower than the average wage lower for that particular job at that particular employer, then you definitely have to introspect a little bit more in terms of why it is, and should raise questions about why. Now, if you're a very talented person, then you should be looking to um, aim your salary at a number that is closer to average wage upper. Okay, so that's the overall guidance. Now obviously, there are other metrics that you could start looking at: median, mode, and other things, and those are presented in other dashboards as well. But just to give you an idea of what you're looking at a very high level. So the median, mode, and other values are also presented here. You can see here. So every metric, whether average, which is mean, or whether median, whether mode, would be presented as a range in this platform. The reason it is presented as a range is because employers report it as a range, and if it is presented as a point data, then we split it into a range, which would generally be, if x is the point data, then x to x, which means both ends are the same for the range, is reported out. That way, we are able to compare apples to apples and not apples to oranges, right? So, anyways, so this table gives you all of the values in terms of mean, median, mode, and so on and so forth. The industry standard, depending on who you talk to, is most of the times median. So you need to be looking at median, which means that 50% of the people got paid less than the median, and 50% of them got paid more than the median. So if you are an average, if you consider yourself as someone who should be in the middle, then you should be targeting for the median wage range, and so on and so forth. Mode, if by the definition of statistics, is how many people, what is the common salary that most people got paid. So let's take, for example, in this case, Mountain View Go Brands Inc., right? So they paid 225K for most of the job titles that they hired in the year 2022 for the state of California in the city of Mountain View. Okay, so that's about employers. The same wage can be now grouped in terms of job titles, and these are the top 10 job titles, and all the job titles, which are about 3,528 records, are also presented in a table in the city, and you could obviously search for it. Let's take, for example, data scientist. There you go. So those are all the data scientist jobs, and what they got paid. Um, so now you could also see the year, state, city on the low side and then the high side. The reason why this is presented is because the table here sometimes is confusing for some of our users. So we wanted to split it out in terms of um, you know the job title, and then give you all the low end values and give you all the high end values. Okay. So that's quick overview. I know there's a ton of information that is presented, but hopefully you got an idea of how to look for wage in these dashboards. Now let's go back to the second one. Um, Wage goals, job title. Now that is a goal. So let's say you had a wage goal, right, of making a certain amount of salary. So in that case, what you want to look for is wage goals, job title level. So if you click this dashboard, um, click the wage KPIs, what you would find here is in the year 2022 for the data scientist job, uh, between the salaries, between the wages of 100 to 129K, right? Um, which of these employers meet those wage goals? So let's say, okay, let's change this first actually. So let's say we want to find on the lower end 120K and on the higher end 140K. So you want to find out all of the employers that meet your goal of at least 120K salary and at most 140K salary, right? And then if you apply the filters, right, the dashboard refreshes and you can see that all of these employers with the title of data scientist paid the money that you're looking for. Okay. And obviously you can search further, drill down further to look for the criteria that you're looking for. Now while so these are the employers meeting the wage goals. Similarly, you might have cities meeting your wage goals. Maybe you want to move to the certain city only your if the city meets your wage criteria, right? These are the states that meet the wage goals. So in this way, based on wage, that is, you're pivoting on the wage and you're trying to optimize your scenario in terms of which employers meet your wage goals, which cities, which um, states, and so on and so forth. Now, similarly, you can also see the job titles median wage trend so that you have a proper context of what you're looking for. Only if you know the trend, then you know what you should expect. So these other insights that are provided on this dashboard give you an overall perspective and context in terms of what to expect, right? So that's about the wage goal. And then let's take a look at move employer, same job title. So let's say you have a scenario wherein um, you want to move across employers while but you don't want to change your job title, right? You would like to pretty much look for the same job title. Maybe you're a data scientist and you want to continue to remain data scientist, which is most likely the scenario. People don't change domains often. There are exceptions though, but majority of the people don't change domains. So let's take an example wherein we are looking for a scenario where if you're moving employers with the same job title, how does the scenario look? So let's search for what if, because that is the category what we are looking for, and same job title wage. Okay, let's go for the wage KPIs. And in this case, the way the dashboard is presented is on the left you would find the year in which that you're looking at this data. Let's say from Facebook, you are a data scientist, and let's say hypothetically you want to move to Accenture as a computer systems analyst. I don't know why you would do that, but these are the default filters. But let's make it something more meaningful, right? So let's say Facebook data scientist, and let's say you want to move to Google, and I don't know, let's say you want to become a software engineer in Google. Let's apply the filters, right? So this dashboard first gives you an overall from employer, which is Facebook. It tells you what's the share of Facebook. How many jobs certified is the number of jobs that they have submitted to the government out of so about 96.16% got approved by the government, and about a few of them got withdrawn. Similarly, Google on the other side, you can see here about 97.55 got approved and so on. So this gives you an overall perspective first. And now let's jump into the wage, right? So top job titles by wage from employer. In this case, the from employer is Facebook. So in Facebook, for a data scientist, you're talking about a salary between 152 to 152. So you're looking at about 152K is the salary. Now, if you want to become a software engineer in Google, you could expect at least 154K. Okay, so that's how you need to interpret this data. Now let's do another example. Let's say you want to move from, I don't know, Facebook to Amazon, right? So let's take Amazon here, and let's say you're planning to become a business intelligence engineer too. Apply. And now you can see that in Facebook you made 152K, but for a business intelligence engineer in Amazon, you make significantly lesser. So most likely you wouldn't want to do this. Okay. So now you have a quick idea of, by looking at the wage, you can decide which employer to move to, which job title to move to. And you're forming this hypothesis upfront. You have all this data armed with you, and then you can start applying for interviews in one scenario. Or let's say you've already applied and you're in the final stages of negotiation and you want to know how much to ask for. Use Symmetrics platform. All of this data is authentic. It is approved by the Bureau of Labor Statistics and approved by the US government. So the data is as good as it gets and the best out there than any other platform out on the internet. All right. So thanks for watching. And, as a final slide, please feel free to register on symmetrics.fi. Thank you once again.